Hello, hello. How are you
We-
doing?
I'm good. Our cold weather is back. Not loving that, but it's all right. I mean, it is winter after all.
Exactly.
All right. Well, last week we talked about imposter syndrome and how a lot of people, over half the people that are in the population, suffer from it sometime in their life, like 70%. So today we're kind of taking the opposite approach to it. Today we're going to be diving into one of the most powerful tools for success, and that is a growth mindset. So if you've ever felt stuck, doubted yourself, or you're hesitating to take the risks that you would really like to take, this episode's going to be for you. I'm Yvonne. I am a financial life coach, and my co-host.
And I'm Yndhira. I'm your leadership coach and also life coach, as Yvonne. And like Yvonne mentioned, we wanted to really give you some guidance and perspective from a completely different mindset. Because the good thing is that it's not just about that you can have some imposter syndrome. Also, we wanted to show you that you have the power to define what do you think and how you set your life for success. And that's why we wanted to take this episode. It's going to be a game changer.
It is. Now, a lot of people have probably heard about what a growth mindset is, or they might have heard of it, but not necessarily know what it is. So, do you want to tell them what it is? Or do you want me to tell them what it is?
That's great. I went and do a little bit of research because the concept was come into play when Dr. Carol Dweck, she put it in one of her study that she was doing at Stanford University. And growth mindset, what it means is that you believe that your abilities and your intelligence can be developed. You can learn it or even improve it based on your effort and your persistence that you put into that.
Right. As opposed to a fixed mindset where you believe that your abilities are already set in stone, like you're either born with the talent or you're not, or that sort of thing. But that is not the truth. There is definite evidence that shows that having a growth mindset can change all of that for you.
Yes. And now that you mentioned that, even with neuroplasticity, now it's shown that you can create connections with your brain when you learn something new. That's why it's so important. And even for Alzheimer, people that have that disease, to prevent or to delay this type of disease, they put you to learn new language or even a new sport or playing an instrument, because that creates new connection that helps you to develop your brain.
Exactly. Well, a lot of people might be thinking that they don't need a growth mindset. They already have it. But there are a few things that you can check yourself to see if you actually have a fixed mindset over a growth mindset. And if you're doing things like you have a fear of failure and you're avoiding challenges, or here's one that's really weird that I found out, that if you are feeling threatened by other people's success, you might have a fixed mindset, because somewhere in the back of your mind, you're thinking you're of them because you're thinking you can't do that.
That's an interesting approach. I was listening to Joe Maxwell just today, one of the for leadership goal, and he was mentioning if you look at someone, you can learn from different people. If you look at someone that is better than you in any aspect, you learn from that person. So try to learn from that person. But if you see someone that you understand that that person has faults or stuff like that, look at yourself, because sometimes it's a reflection in a mirror. So like you mentioned, that having that perspective of how you see people and how you see yourself, it really makes a difference. So when you have that jealousy, maybe it's a reflection of things that you're not doing that you're supposed to be doing. So it's triggering you.
Yes. And if you're thinking that, your skills are set, your talent is set, and there's nothing you can do about it, remember Michael Jordan, one of the great GOATs of basketball, was actually cut from his high school team. So if he would have quit then, just think of all the majesty that we would have missed out on.
Oh, that's true. And another one, for example, Oprah Winfrey. She was fired from the newscast when she was doing her early in her career, because she was too sentimental. And look who she became after that. And I can even say for myself, I think I was fired from my first 4 jobs. So I mean, for different reasons.
And look at you now.
and exactly. And if I remember at that moment, the first time that happened, I think I mentioned before, My mother took me because I arrived home and I was crying because it was not just my job. I used to my mom to paint the house, so it was nothing that I was helping with. So when I arrived home, I was crying like crazy. And my mother looked at me and said, "Wow, why are you crying? It is just a job. You're going to see that then you're going to be deciding what jobs you're going to take or not." And believe it, after I think next year, the same company asked me to go back to the organization. So you have to
Yeah.
forget and also listen to the people around you because sometimes they can see different than like you are seeing it.
Exactly. And that's one really important step on having a growth mindset is to be open to feedback and self-improvement. And now a lot of people think that when feedback means something negative, but it doesn't always. A lot of times feedback can also include the things you're doing right. So you really need to be open to that. Now, a lot of people think they're open to feedback and self-improvement until they have to start doing the work. And then they're like, I don't know if I want to do this, because anytime you're changing a mindset, it actually does take work. And like I've said a million times, so many of these things are simple, doesn't mean they're easy.
I think that's the most difficult part. When I was reviewing these things about the growth mindset, I think one key thing is not just have the mindset that you wanted to grow. The first thing is that you need to have intentionality that you really wanted to
Yes,
grow. That's one of the
exactly.
first things. But one important aspect, it doesn't matter that I said, I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to do that, if I don't put actions. So
Right.
that's why it's so important. And even the actions are going to help you to continue growing your mindset, understanding that you're capable and going to give you confidence as well.
Yep. And something that we've said again 1,000 times, and if you've listened to any episode of us, you've heard us say this before, that if you look at creating a growth mindset as like a goal of yours, any goal that you're setting, something that's really important to do is to celebrate those wins. So even if you're trying to change your mindset to be, I guess in some ways, what people would consider a negative mindset to be more of a positive mindset in general, that you're going to have to notice that you are making improvements, and that'll motivate you to keep making improvements. So definitely celebrate those small wins.
Yes. Another thing that I wanted to bring to the attention is that growth mindset, it's one important aspect is how you perceive challenges in your life.
Yes.
And that is one of the most important aspects. It's not just knowing that you are capable, it's when the moment becomes difficult, you believe that you're able to do and put the actions in
Yes.
place.
Yep. A lot of people see a setback as a roadblock or a stopping point, when you can look at it as a learning opportunity. You can, also build resilience from those things instead of being, well, I hate to say this, but a quitter, and thinking, oh, it's hard now, I have to quit. Use it as a learning experience. Build your resilience, because the world is not going to stop. Life is going to continue to be hard. And each time that you hit resistance, and you work on that, use it as a learning opportunity to learn new ways of overcoming or just get stronger. It's going to get easier every time you hit that wall.
And you may say, oh, it is easy saying. It is easy to say, but doing
It
it.
is easy to say. It's hard to
Yes.
do.
It's
I'm not going to
hard
deny
for
it.
you. Yeah, it's hard for you. It's hard for everybody. But one thing it's that we have to keep in mind is that in order for you to achieve something, you need to fail first.
Exactly.
Because it's not fair that it's very rare the person that hit it right the first time. And if they did it, it's because they do so many research or so many things to be able to put themselves at that position. But in many of the occasion, you fail first, and that's what really teach you. And it's the same thing with us as well.
Well, I mean, Thomas Edison failed 1,000 times before he made a light bulb, and all of this time now we're all sitting in the light. We're not sitting in the dark anymore. And his famous saying is that, I have not failed 1,000 times. I found 1,000 ways that it wouldn't work. And he kept on going and kept on going. And I'm glad that he did. I'm really glad that he did.
Me too. That is so true.
You have to keep going.
Yes. And another thing that I wanted to bring to our attention is that you don't necessarily you don't born with that. It's something that you create.
Right.
With your experiences, how you face challenges. Last week, I was talking about how I was in the park with my son. And your environment is a significant impact, how they can help you to really believe in yourself. So, for example, and just to bring to attention for someone that is listening now, I was at the park with my son and I was helping him in the monkey bars there were other kids that they were doing it by themselves. So I was maybe giving the wrong message to him that he wasn't capable of doing it.
Yeah.
So your environment really it's important in the people that you surround with. But sometimes you're not in the right environment. So that's why the word that I said before about intentionality is so important, because you have the right to choose how you think, how you perceive the word, because at the end is how you just see the world that you perceive based on your emotions and your environment and your history.
And if you find that the environment isn't working for you, you have the opportunity to change it, like you said, which means you need to stay open to new opportunities.
Yes.
You know, don't be poo-pooing everything that you didn't think of. If it's a new idea, explore it. You know, just because you didn't think of it doesn't mean it's a bad idea. And that can apply to finances, your career, your personal life. You know, if you're thinking, I'm terrible with money, you know, if you're looking for new opportunities, you can think, okay, well, maybe I need to get a different job or start my own business. You know, in your career, if you are thinking you're stalemated in your position where you're at, not just necessarily look for a new job, but look for a new position. Maybe there's another opportunity, you know, in your business or in the company that you work for. Personal development, same thing, you know, take a course, go back to school. You know, in relationships, if you've been dating and it's just not working out, maybe try date somebody that's out of your type. You know, new opportunities are there all the time. You just have to be open to them. And I think that's the hardest part. It's not that they're not there. We're either not looking or we're just going, nah, I don't want to try it. You know, you don't know unless you try.
Yeah, that's a good point. And going back to what you mentioned about in the work environment, it is so important, not just for the organization, also in work and the right culture, but just the growth mindset in organization can open so much opportunity because it helps with innovation for the team. But also you give the team the opportunity to understand that they can fail. And if they fail, as long as it's not intentionally doing it because of the sake of failing, you have the opportunity to continue growing in the organization. So that is very important that we as a leader, we open this mindset, we create this mindset in our organization, because the only thing that will help us to really engage our team is allowing them to innovate, to grow, and to fail. And one important thing is that that's something that you can create in your culture. You can embed in your culture. You mentioned, for example, development. That's one good thing that you can help the team. If you invest in development, training, that helps them also to open to new possibilities, because the world is changing so fast. That's the only way that we can really keep up to that.
And allow people to move within the organization. I know that a lot of people get stalemated in their positions because they're really, really good at what they do, and the boss does not want to lose that on their team. But sometimes you can be ruining that person's, not just their future opportunities, but somebody can get really burned out, and pretty soon they're not going to be your shining star anymore because it's not what they're wanting to do. They want opportunities also. And so as a good leader, you're going to create those opportunities for your employees, for your recruits, for all of those people. And you're going to only do good by the company by allowing your team, even your shining star that you love so much, to spread their wings and grow also.
Now that you mentioned that, I have one leader early in my career that maybe that's one of the things that helped me to also help other people in my team. He said to everybody, you won't move if an organization if you don't have the next person ready, because your boss is not going to let you go until you let them know there's someone that is ready to take that step. What he was saying with that, you need to create leaders. You need to be creating people that are going to, and that also created a lot of synergy in the organization, because there's more a win-win that you look in the organization.
You know, that's the difference between a boss and a leader. A leader creates other leaders. A boss just controls the situation.
Tell them what to do.
Big difference. Yeah, we've both been in those situations.
Yes. One important thing is that in the financial aspect, sometimes people don't like to take risk because they're afraid or because they don't know about it.
Right.
So, how can we work and have that growth mindset? Because there's a lot of fears, fear of losing money, fear not investing because I don't know what to do, fear of lack of knowledge in the financial world, that people are afraid of take this step and have that growth mindset. How can they help develop that growth mindset, financially speaking?
There are a ton of ways. I mean, like you said, maybe people don't know. Educate yourself. There is so much information out there for people to educate themselves if they want to try and do something, not even just investing. There's a lot of ways to invest on your own also. And, if you really need to know what you're doing that way though, but there's so much information out there. You can talk to somebody who you see that is successful. If you have a friend or something that's doing really well financially, not just making a lot of money, but that's managing their money well, talk to them and say, how are you doing this? Hire a coach. A coach will do more than just, help you how to budget. A coach, we will help you with your mindset. We'll help train you in getting rid of some of the other habits that might be causing you to have some money issues. But so hiring a coach is a good way. Go to the library, watch YouTube. There's all kinds of ways to educate yourself on any subject, even aside from finances. When it comes to investing, you can try for your own. There's some apps out there that you can invest for as little as $10 on your own and play with it. That's not a lot to lose, so you can do those things. You can invest, hire a money manager. That's going to cost you a little bit more money, and there are certain companies out there that do require a minimum many thousands of dollars to invest, but there are some that don't charge that much. They charge a percentage of what you invest. So if you're really wanting to invest, hire somebody that does already know what they're doing. There's a lot of ways. If it's something that's less, you're not talking about investing and losing a bunch of money, but even if you just want to learn how to budget, it's really easy to do. Again, there are apps out there. There are Google documents. There are friends. There are libraries. There's books. Education is free in a lot of ways, but changing your mindset, sometimes that's where you need some help. But just to find out the basics of how to control your money, budget your money, things like that, it's out there. It's all over the place. I have a free budget sheet. I have a free assessment that you can take. I've got all kinds of free documents and information that I can give out to people if they're just interested. So you just need to contact me.
Yeah,
and my information is in the bio, by the way, and so is Yndhira's.
Yeah, and that you said one thing, and that's why you always mention that you're not just financial coach, because one of the most important things is that the mindset, and that's why we wanted to cover this topic today, because it's really interesting. And in terms of mindset, it is so important that we have the right state of mind, even when we are putting ourselves in a position of achieving new things, or setting goals, or taking new challenges. The results will be completely different if you have the right mindset or not.
Well, and part of that is controlling your self-talk.
Yes. Yep. I was going to say that I mentioned before that when I was moving to Canada, I was experiencing so many things that in front of every other person could be difficult. But for me, it wasn't, because I understood it was just a step of the process that was following through that would take me the place that I wanted to do. In reality, what I was saying is that my mindset was focused on growing and continue that process.
Exactly.
And that makes a difference. That really made a significant difference.
Yeah. And that, I mean, when I said guard your self-talk, that is part of it. You understood what was ahead, that it could be hard, but you didn't say, well, I'm not good at this, I can't do this. You're like, I see my picture ahead, this is my goal, and now I'm going to go for it. I can do this. It's going to take work. I'm going to make it happen. And you find ways to do it. Like if there's not an opportunity, you made an opportunity. But so much of this is, when we talk about mindset, it's what you control. It's your own mind. And a lot of that is with your self-talk.
But let me tell you, sometimes, and I always said, maybe I say it today, it was easy. No, it was not. And it took me so much time to be able to prepare myself to be at that moment that I was able to take those steps. And a lot was with that self-talk. And
Yep, it's huge.
this week I experienced it in a very weird way. My week was not going in the right direction because of some health issues and different things. And I was feeling emotional. And I remember once that I was talking with my sisters and I said, oh my gosh, I don't know, I was not feeling good. And I was even in bursts of tears, but I said, but really, I know I have the same situation as the day before with my son. So I shouldn't be really feeling that way. So on Thursday morning, when I wake up, I look at my the mirror, and I was with the same lousy emotion. I said, "No, not again today.
Yep.
No, Yndhira, I'm tired of this. This is enough." But that's okay. And then later on, my sister asked me, "What's going on?" I said, "I talk to myself." It shouldn't be.
I have done that.
Yeah.
I used to be a huge worrier, just a huge worrier. I worried about everything. And it got to the point where I would have to physically, out loud, I would tell myself, stop. Just stop right now, and literally talk myself out of feeling that way, because it was ridiculous that I was feeling worried over things that couldn't control, that I was worried about might happen, might not, So self-talk is huge when it comes to mindset.
Yes. And I wanted to bring this small example, because you will say that we were not in this situation. Yes, that is that we have to be in guard of our mind on a
Yes.
day basis, every moment, because it is so easy to go to those negative thoughts. So we have to be constantly, and it's going to be good days and bad days, but as long as you can quickly take control, that's the important thing, that you develop that muscle of control your self-talk.
Yeah. And you were talking about when you moved to Canada, or, the times that I've moved literally across country, and we had this goal, and you set your mind on a goal, but instead of just thinking on the outcome of that goal, one thing that you can do, we've talked about this before, is to, break it down to smaller things, but set learning goals. If you're saying, I want this particular job, do a little research, find out exactly what that it's going to take to do that job, and learn about that job. Do the things that you need. When you move to another country, when I moved from North Dakota to Texas, I needed to learn about what it was going to take to do that. So I did some research and I learned. That's one way that you can help to progress and to reach your goal, to have that growth mindset, instead of just saying, I can't do it, it's not going to happen, it's too hard. So have that lofty dream, have that big, huge goal, and then just take step by step and look at it, like you said, as a learning goal. Say, today I'm going to learn how to, hire a moving truck. Today I'm going to learn to find out what it takes to get a visa to move to another country. Yes. Learning goals. It moves you along.
I love that you mentioned that, because, in Maxwell's book, in the Law of Intentionality, talks about knowledge gaps, but yes, just having the opportunity to go and research, you give them possibility. Exactly. Because we put our minds so big, but once we start looking and digging into the information, sometimes we said, oh, it was not as bad as I thought. Or you can say, wow, this is too much to take in just one bite. I will need to have someone to help me in this process.
Yes.
But the only way that you're going to identify if you need support, is if you start doing research. Exactly. The only way that you're going to encounter the people that knows about it, if you're walking through that path. If not, you wouldn't jump in with those people that also can support you. So that's important. The learning, it's amazing. A very good topic to mention.
Have you ever heard the saying, and I'm probably going to get this wrong because I can't remember it exactly off the top of my head, but it's something like, fail fast, fail hard. And basically it's just like, get it out of the way.
Yes.
Okay. And that's another step in learning to have a growth mindset, is stepping out of your comfort zone enough to understand that you're going to fail. And if you do it, instead of fail fast, fail big, just do it enough that you could have what's called a micro failure. I don't know if you've ever heard of that, yeah, but it's like a safe level of failure for yourself, so you don't get totally defeated. And that's another way to learn to have a growth mindset, is to intentionally step outside of your comfort zone enough that it gives you an opportunity to fail a little bit, not something that's going to destroy your life, But the more you expose yourself to little failures and recoup from them, it actually helps to, like we said before, rewire your brain. That helps you to see failure as growth instead of a dead end. So, if you're not growing, you're not failing. And if you're not failing, you're not growing. It goes hand in hand.
Yes. Now that you mention, I remember listening to a study of about in the army. They were doing so many research to about a problem that they had, and they brought this executive person to make the decision. It was someone in the army, and he listened to the inputs of the different people, and right away said, let's do this. So one of the person stepped back, everybody left, and said permission to talk, and he said permission granted. We spent months doing this research. How can you just in 5 minutes you're able to make a decision? He said, if you go and you test that one, if it's not, we change the decision and make another one. So sometimes we just need to put ourselves in the position, because that's the only way that you're going to know that didn't work. So let's try
Otherwise, we
something
get
else.
stuck. We can get stuck on waiting to make the right decision and never move forward at all.
Exactly. And that's scary. I just recently experienced with someone, a very close family member. She have quite some time without going back to school and learning. And I always be pushing, it's good to be learning, it's good to be reading, good to be doing something. And just this weekend, she was able to decide, okay, she find out about a course that she wanted to do. She registered on Friday. She couldn't even pay. She was able to ask for another family member to go and pay it in the place because she couldn't pay it online. And she has so many struggles. But yesterday she was taking the course. And just to say, I feel so happy. And say, I'm happier than you. Because that's it's awesome. Not just, but it's just a 3 weeks, a 5 weeks course. It doesn't matter what it represents. You are breaking something and you're taking yourself out of your comfort zone.
Yep.
And that's what we're going to saying. Take steps that is going to take you to the places that you wanted to go.
Yep. And that's something I like to consider myself as a very curious person. And so if you can consider yourself being curious about something instead of, I have to learn this or I have to do this, become a lifelong learner and just be curious about everything, and I think that's a wonderful idea, what she did. And then you don't have to think about, okay, if I got curious about something and I tried it and it didn't work, then you're still trying, you're still growing, but it maybe doesn't feel, if you put it in those terms, it might not feel as devastating as I completely bombed.
Yeah, that's true.
I was just curious. I was checking it out.
Yes, and like you mentioned, I was doing some research for this material to talking about a little bit of leadership, and I said, okay, but in the 21 irrefutable laws, there's so many things that good, and there was one of the law of curiosity, because when you confront life in a very curious way, like a kid, you are always learning. Nobody can absorb more knowledge than a kid.
Exactly.
They're curious. And they don't worry if they're going to fail because they're experimenting. And I think we lose that.
Well, and if you do get curious and you try something new and you think you totally bombed it, what you can also do is then reframe it and kind of like literally rewrite the story. If that means getting a pen and paper or getting on, your computer in a Word document, rewrite that story. Say, instead of I totally bombed this, say, I tried this and it didn't really work out the way I wanted. So here's what I learned. This is what I can do next time. I stayed calm under pressure. I did this and this, and reframe it. And it'll start to get you to think differently about what you consider a bomb, a disaster, a loss, or whatever. So reframe your story, rewrite it.
Yes. And the good thing is that you never know where that's going to take you. Sometimes the knowledge that we thought that wasn't important, it really takes you to very good places. And when you say refrain, also one thing that is so important for us to refrain is our negative thoughts that we were talking in the beginning. Instead of we say, I can't do this, I can't do it yet. Recently we were talking about, for example, about budget. It's not, I don't have money, just can't afford it right now but it doesn't mean that I can do it in the future. You put yet, which means it's for this period of time because it's going to be different. So we can start switching the way we talk to ourselves,
Mhm.
and that will give us more power on our thoughts as well.
Well, and even turning the I can't do this into the curiosity thing, instead of saying I can't do this, think, how
How?
can I do this?
Yes.
So it gets you curious to figure out how, instead of just
Yeah.
saying, oh, I can't do it.
Yeah,
So,
that's true. And that puts you in action mode, because
yes.
you trigger in your brain, how can I, now you asking a question that your brain can start looking for solutions. Yeah,
Yeah.
like that.
Another thing that you can do is surround yourself with other successful people. And this does a lot of things. Like I said before, if you are trying to figure out how to do something, you're not sure, find somebody else who knows how to do it and ask them how they did it. Most of the time, people are happy to share their successes. But that's something that you and I kind of did. We started out as accountability partners, and we still do that. And I think that that's really important, is to find somebody that can help hold you accountable, somebody that might be a little ahead of you in the game, and they can give you feedback. I mean, it's kind of like a multi-purpose tool to have somebody that's ahead of the game for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they can do all those things. They can hold you accountable. They can help you learn from their successes. They can, give you feedback, good and bad. So surround yourself with the kind of people that are where you want to go in their life.
Yes.
And I think that's really, really important. Now, you and I are kind of that way to each other. And it works for us because we are in different niches and different fields of coaching. So we kind of can look at it from the outside. But I think that's something that's really good to do. I'm in another coaching group that's the same thing. It has all different levels of mentors, from people that have never coached before to people that have been doing it for 20 years. And it's really fascinating. Even people that have been doing it for a really long time come in sometimes and like, I ran into this circumstance that I've never dealt with before with a client, and I have no idea what to do. And that's really helpful to somebody who's brand new if they come in and they're like, wow, this person doesn't even know what to do. And then you start to talk about it. Yeah. So absolutely find somebody who's going to expand you and stick to them.
Yeah. And one thing that I would like to add is that we need to embrace effort and persistence.
Oh, yes.
We need to understand that success is not just about talent. It's about being consistent. Yes. It's about having that grit. It's about continue walking. Even though some days can be difficult, you just continue walking. And believe me, if you walk into one path, ideally it was going to take you to the place based on the direction that you're taking. And sometimes you cannot do it by yourself. Like you mentioned, Yvonne, having someone that a coach even can help you, for example, and it could be in different areas, because you can be in different stages in different areas of your life. For example, I just identified that for me to continue on my goal that I put this year about my personal well-being in terms of health and physical appearance, I really need a coach to push me because in that area, I'm going to push me to a certain level, but he's not going to take me to the same level. He's going to push me harder than that. So we need to understand, where do we need that support? And I don't know if you're hearing something. My kids are jumping here and there.
I don't hear them at all.
Okay. It's going to feel like elephants are in my room. So sorry about that. So what I'm saying is that sometimes you need someone to push you, because that person can see more of you than you can see about yourself, because that person already walked the path. It's already up there. So he can see yourself from a different point of view, and it can help you to get confident, change your mindset, and also believe in yourself a little bit more, because they see the opportunity.
And you know what? You can kind of turn that around. And to help you have more of a growth mindset and build confidence, is you can teach somebody else what you're learning or what you know. Yeah. So that also helps.
Yeah.
So I mean, even if it means just finding a friend or a colleague or something like that, and just share what you've learned. Say, even if it doesn't apply to them, just be like, can I share something with you? And kind of, regurgitate to them and be all excited about it. And it'll help you. It'll give you, like I said, it'll give you confidence, but it'll also let them know, they might be like, wow, that's really curious, and then dive deeper. And pretty soon you're having this whole session with somebody, And that can be really good too, to grow your mind. And you might realize you know more than you thought you knew.
Yes. And that's the best way to learn. When you can pass your knowledge, that's when you really know that you're mastering what you're learning. And you don't
Yes,
need to be all the way ahead, just with one or two step, or even walking together on a similar path. It's also helpful. Yep.
absolutely.
I really thought that this was going to be a powerful conversation, really, because it
Hmm.
resonates with everybody, and it's a very good uh, interaction between what we talked about last week and how we can work on that imposter syndrome, and this week work on our mindset. I really think this is absolutely beautiful topic.
I think so too. And if you're feeling really resistant to change, or thinking, this is going to be too hard, I have a few little ideas of things that you can try that's going to kind of force your brain to adapt to changing and try to develop a growth mindset. This one is one that I do kind of occasionally, and I tease Indira about it all the time, and it's learn a new language. And I tease her about it because I keep saying, I'm going to learn Spanish. And I practiced a little bit, but I'm not brave enough yet to try and talk to her about it, because I'm not that good.
We're going to talk Spanish.
I used to speak Japanese also, because I lived in
Yeah.
Japan for a long time. But yeah, so learning a language is a way that, that kind of goes into the curiosity factor and things like that. It can really help your brain adapt, force it into growth. Travel to an unfamiliar place, and it doesn't mean you have to go to Europe or, any place else. It could mean go to another town or someplace that's unfamiliar, because it opens up your brain to change. Try a hobby that feels really out of character for you, or something weird. Like if you've never been musical, try and learn how to play guitar, something like that, something that's very out of character. Because all of this doing these things is going to strengthen your brain's ability to embrace learning and change, and it'll make it more open to embracing change and learning. And that's what we're all about. Is we are here to help you develop and reach your dreams, be open to growth, and improve yourself. That's the whole reason for this podcast.
Yes, exactly. And sometimes you don't have an idea of what would you like to do. What I do sometimes is I go back to the dreams of things that I wanted to do when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Last year I said I wanted to learn how to swim, so I spent quite some time taking swimming lessons. And this year I said, what another new skill I wanted to acquire that is really going to take me out of my comfort zone. So I said, I would like to learn to play piano. I'm not trying to be Beethoven or Mozart. No, I just love the sound, and I said it's something that is going to teach me new things.
My
So
daughter did that a few years ago.
yeah, and that is a fantastic way for you to take yourself out of your comfort zone. You can face certain fears if it's that what didn't allow you to do it when you were younger. But more importantly, it keeps you also more alive in learning new things and new activity, and also make you exercising in your brain, because that's really what you're doing. Your brain is exercising because it's learning new muscles, how to develop them.
Exactly. Well, I really hope that our listeners get something out of this and decide to try something new, stretch your brains, stretch your abilities, and all of that. And like always, we hope that you join us on our Facebook page, the Find Your Wise Podcast Facebook page, so that we can get enough listeners there to live stream there, like, share this place here, so that we can get into the algorithm, so we can help more people. That's the whole point of this.
Yes. And if you find any of the activities that you would like to embrace and take it this year, please comment on this podcast so you can also share your experience with us, because it's really good when we start engaging. So we're hoping that we can get to that level soon.
Well, exactly. And you sharing your thoughts with us and everybody else will encourage other people to start doing the same. They'll be like, wow, somebody else is trying something new. Now I'm going to try something new. So we can just be a big old happy growing family here.
This is so fantastic. We hope that you really enjoyed this episode, in that you can learn new things that you can apply to your life in any area. It could be your personal life, your relationship, your life, your finances, whichever. Your growth mindset, it's really here to help you change the way you see the world and the way you see your life for the future. So
to help you find your wise.
Yes. Have a great one, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.